Hi everyone, welcome back, welcome live on our channel. It's Tuesday 5 p.m. so we're ready with this live webinar session with me, Sylvia, and we will see together how to use custom forms and fields and how to create a form and a field then in your magicplan cloud. So we will start from the app Do because some of you guys work for companies, so you normally have a person in the office creating the forms and fields if necessary, and then you just apply them to your flow plans, to your projects. So we will start with this step so everyone knows where to find the form and the field and how to fill it in, etc., how to export the project with all the important info that you filled in, and then we will see how to create those important forms and fields from scratch. Perfect. If you guys have any questions, you're new, you never joined us live, please feel free to write them down in the comment section or on the side if you're watching this video on your computer, depending where you see the live comment session. You just write down there and I'm going to answer if I know the answer. Okay, perfect. Now, I would say that we can start sharing my screen. Here we go. I'm using my tablet, so what I'm doing here will be reflected exactly the same on your screen so you can follow me. Okay, now let's select a project. I would take this one here. And as you can see, I created my project. I also have some pictures attached here. Okay, so let's say that you created your flow plan. Now you need to add important info to your project. Let's say we have water damages. So you want to add as many details as possible for the insurance, for your company, and so on. Okay, so in this project, we have a form that's attached both at the project level and at the floor level. So we can decide if we want to fill in the form from the side. You can see I'm here, right? So you can see forms. And if it's saved at the project level, you can fill it in directly here. Or if you prefer, you can also go in your floor. And here, without selecting any rooms, you can simply tap on forms and you can fill in your form. I would say, let's do it from here. It's the same thing. I saved my form. I will show you in some minutes how to do that. Don't worry. So I saved it at the project level and floor level because I know that some of you guys use both. Okay. So we would start here with the claim number. We can write down 0123. It's our claim number. Then date of loss, we can say, okay, it's today, fine. Then we can leave it like that. We can go ahead. Is the property currently available? We can say yes, okay. We have some water damages, right? We just reminded. Property type, residential, I would say in this case. We just have 2 rooms, but it's to show you, right? Then if you have an entire apartment, you can create all other rooms, of course. Then, how old is the property? In years, we can say 5 years, okay? Are there any previous incidents of water damage at this property? Let's say yes. And here you see that another logic appeared. What happened? And we can add a text saying we had water damages last year too. Okay, it's just very simple. You can add as many details as you want. We save it. Perfect. Now we can go ahead. Water damage category, we can say how, let's say, bad was the water damages or how bad is the water damage while you're on site, right? So you see here we have the category. We can say we have still clean water, okay, and then we can also add the water damage class, okay. So we could say we have in this case a Class 2, large amounts of water, entire rooms affected. In this case, it will be the bathroom, but it's still the entire room. Okay, let's pretend that. Now you can see that the form has like a little space here, and you have damage overview. I will show you how to create this thing also in some minutes when we switch to the cloud. You see that we filled in a block called claim information, and now we have like a second block called damage overview. Okay, so we can say here identify and describe the source and extent of the water damage. Of course, now we're doing it with water damage, but you can do it with everything, right? It can also be a fire damages, mold damage. It doesn't really need to be a damage. It can also be something that just needs to be um, renovated or whatever you want, right? What is the primary source of the water damage? In this case, we can say we have a plumbing leak because we're still here in the bathroom, as we mentioned. Detailed description of the visible water damage. I just write something, okay? I just write test damage because I don't want to stay here a lot of minutes typing something. But of course, as we said for the other text, you can be as precise as you want. Then we can add photos of the specific areas where the water damage is most severe or where the water damage is. We can tap on the plus. For example, we could say camera. I'm just taking a photo here, imagining that we're in that bathroom. Okay, we say next. You could also add a video. You could add a 360 photo. We will see next week in the next live video how to do that, because you probably saw as I added the photo there was written photo, video, and 360 picture. So we will see together all those steps next week. But now we just added a photo. We can edit it, adding markups. Anyway, let's say here we have our water damage. So we could say, okay, look, water damage here, right? Something like that. Done. Save. Perfect. The photo has been attached to our form. What is the current condition of the affected areas? We can say minor damage, no structural damage. We could also say moderate if we're not sure, and then go back later and see if it was moderate or maybe not. We can see here, okay, moisture level of the affected areas. I just wrote 4 for some reasons. I don't know. I was testing the form before. We can say, let's say 10%. Okay. And are there any hazardous materials present like asbestos, lead paint, la la la? We say no, everything is fine. Then we have a new block also, visual documentation. I know that it's a bit long, but it's just to show you some different options also of how you can answer. We saw the text, the numbers, date and time. Now we have the colors, photos, of course, we saw them here, right? And yes, no logic, additional logics, and we will see then how to create everything. Here we can say, what's the color of the water stain or discoloration? We can say this gray or maybe a bit less. Okay, it's fine. We can capture other photos of the affected areas. I'm taking another photo here. You see also the option, take photo 360 or video, right? You see also the option on the right at the bottom. Okay, just take another picture of my studio here. And next. Save all. Okay, perfect. Is there any visible mold growth on or in the affected areas? We can say yes, a little bit. Describe any others present in the affected areas. If you smell anything, you can write it down. You don't have to, because there's nothing making these, let's say, logic mandatory. So if you want, you can also skip it. We go ahead here. We have the question. Are there any contents or belongings that require specialized restoration, like electronics, furniture, documents? We can say in this case, we could have the plumbings. Okay, we can say other because we have just the plumbings in there. Last block here, assessment and approval. Okay, so this is the last part that we have in this form. So we can provide final details. Is professional remediation required? Yes. Is immediate action needed to prevent further damage? Yes. When I read quickly, it goes on and on. Signature of the assessor. Now let's say that it's me, so we can write down like that. Okay. Signed by, I can also write it down because sometimes it's not so clear who signed the form. We say just add signature. Now I know that it's me, so we're fine. Now we can say also here date and time of the assessment completion. And here we also have another date and time, right? So we could say here, well, the date and now the time. In my time zone, it's 5 p.m., something like that. Okay. And we're done with our form. I would say that we filled in all the important info, right? Little important note, when I go back, then I can go back into my form and it's still filled in. And if I select a specific room, I will not see the form, but not because it has disappeared. It's just because it is still saved at the floor level, right? So once you're outside from any room, you will see the form available there. Okay, it depends how deep you need to go on your floor plan. And same thing, if I go back, I exit the floor level. As we mentioned at the beginning, this form has also been attached at the project level, so it will also be still available here. Okay, now it's not filled in here because we filled it in the floor level, right? So here it will still be there. We don't need to fill it in twice. Okay, I would say that we can tap on the export toggle. I'm going to show you also how it works with fields in a sec. Now, we have to go here to report PDF. If you want to change some settings, you tap on the little three, on the three little lines near the report PDF export format. And you can check if everything is fine, everything is set up how you would like it to be. And there is also this important or intelligent option you can see there. It's written forms. Place each form on its own page. So if you maybe want to be more you want to have a tidy document, everything more organized, maybe you already have a lot of info in your project, then you possibly want to let your form start on its own page, basically, right? I turn it on, I tap on done to save the changes, and I generate my report PDF. Give it a sec. I didn't attach too many pictures, so it's quick. Here we go. So you can see that we have our title, right? The project, who created it, the Google Maps. Then we have some photos that are attached to our project. We see here the bedroom, and we will have here the form that we just created or we just filled in together. You can see here that it starts on its own page, right? So you see here, okay, we have some problems at the ground floor, water damage, okay? So we have all the claim information, the damage overview with the photo that we attached. You can also decide to make the photos bigger. Still in that configuration menu, you can make photos small, medium, or large, and then they will be bigger if you want. And here you can see visual documentation, assessment and approval. It's signed by myself, created by myself and signed by myself. Amazing. Okay, and then you also have some other info. Here I had a picture from the humidity moisture meter, the yellow one that you can see in the bathroom, but that's another story. We're not seeing it today. And here then you have all the other info. Okay, now I can exit the report PDF. Since you guys probably want to be as precise as possible, you can also enter your room where you have the water damage in this case. And we could also insert an object, as an example, a dehumidifier that you can find in the restoration category. If the restoration category is still not yet visible here, it's just because it's here in the hidden folders. Okay, so you simply add it to your main library. Now I already have it, so I can go in and look for a dehumidifier. Here it is. I select it, I add it here, and I created a field, and it is attached exactly to the object called dehumidifier, because when I select this object, you see it because it's in blue, right? When it's selected, you open the info section of it, and under the, let's say, standard info that you can change, you will see also the info that I added from the magicplan cloud, which are the, let's say, the last block, okay? The bottom part. So dehumidifier, and you see here that we have reading. We can make today, it's fine. Then we can say also the time, okay? We can also change it if we want, say it was another time, perfect. And we can add the details to the dehumidifier. So you saw the difference, right? In case you're maybe wondering what's the difference here, forms, field. The form, it's here, there's nothing attached to the object itself, but you have basically to change page, fill it in, and come back. Okay, so if you have a ton of information, it makes sense to have a form, in my opinion. But if you have an object with some quick info that you want to fill in right away, right after you add the object, it's maybe better to do a field, because everything gets listed right away here. You select the object, open the info, and boom, you're ready. Okay, let me add something here. Let's say temperature 70 degrees Fahrenheit, relative humidity 60%, and running hours that we need, let's say 24. Okay, save. Perfect. We could add photos if we want. It's up to you. Okay, now we're happy. We can also do the same, export a report PDF, and we will also see the field. Just in case, you see also the dimensions. If for any reasons you need to include the dimensions in your PDF, turn on this little toggle and they will be shown in your PDF. Okay, now we can leave it off because we don't need the dimensions of the dehumidifier, but so just so that you know. Okay, now I would say that we saw here, I'm going to change my screen right away. So I'm putting the tablet on the side, because I will share the magicplan cloud with you. Okay, so let me close the screen of my tablet and share the other screen from my computer, so you will see me watching a bit here and there. Let me share it. Da-da-da. Here we have it, right? Yes. Okay. So if instead you are the person that starts using magicplan and you are in the office and have to create the forms and or fields, you will start with this. Okay, so you will open the section called forms. Okay, give it a sec that it loads. Perfect. Okay, so give me one moment. I have to move something on my screen because it's covering my screen. You don't see it, but I see it. Okay, perfect. So here we have the form that we used right now. I'm going to create a new one. Okay, so we can call the next form a bit differently. So we can call it project, if I can type, project scope. I just add the word test, so I know that's the one that we created during the live afterward. Here you see that this form applies to the project level. Okay, and we could also say all floors. So this is exactly the settings that I used for the form that we filled in before. Okay, now we can start adding a new section separator, and we can call it claim information. Okay, I'm not going to add all the details that we saw before because we would stay here until the sun goes down and up again. So we are just going ahead with a couple of info and then we will see the fields. Okay, so we can add a question, for example, claim number. Okay, and we could say, yes, we would like it as a number here. Then we can add another question, for example, the date of loss. And here, instead of text, we will say date and time. Okay? We can also say that these two infos need to be filled in, so we mark them as mandatory. So everyone knows that they have to fill in this information. You can mark also everything as mandatory, up to you. And we are maybe going to add one last question here. I make it a bit shorter. We can say property accessible, and we can say in this case it's a yes no answer. And here we can add a logic. We say if no, provide more info. Okay, and we can say text, yes, it's fine. And if we want, we can also add a default value, writing something additional. Now, we don't want to do that right now, but we could say, okay, in this case, add also instructions, and we can say, ask the client if they notice something additional. It just came out of my brain right now. Okay, so we could say here as an instruction. Perfect. Now we have a first block, short enough, of course, but we could go ahead and create then a second, third, fourth, how many blocks you want, and we can say damage overview. Other way around. I always invert the the V and the W for some reasons. I don't know. Damage overview, and you can go ahead as we did right away, as we did with the first block. Okay, we could say, okay, I just add one more question here. So we are there, and we could say primary source of damage. Primary source of damage. Okay, and we could say list. Okay, so we could write some options that are our, let's say, main source of damage. So leak, then we add a comma or space, and we can say other. Okay, and then we just go ahead with other options. Okay, perfect. Now it has disappeared. Amazing. Okay, perfect. But normally they stay saved there. Okay, in case you add something that you would like to remove at some point, you simply tap here on the minus, right? And that thing will disappear, or that little question, instruction, whatever it is. You also have the undo redo arrow, right? So if you notice that you accidentally clicked on something, you can still save what you did before. Okay, now we can save the changes, and once we create all the or we added all the questions and info that we want to have in our form, we can publish it to the app, right? So this is necessary, otherwise it will not appear. And another thing, if you have more forms and you don't need them all together, now you see success, perfect, it has been published. So I would, if I would open the app, I just refresh and apply the workspace updates, and the form will be there. So if you have more forms but you don't need them all together, you can also unpublish them when you don't need them, and then you can publish those or that form that you need. Okay, now I would say, do you guys have questions until now? I see that everyone is quiet, so I hope that it's super clear until now. Okay, perfect. Now let me switch here to fields, because this is what we created for the dehumidifier. Okay, and I would say that we can add something like another field attached to a different object. Okay, So another case, I create the fields, right? So another case of field that's used a lot is, for example, to attach it to an ear scrubber. Okay, did I write it correct? Yes, air scrubber. And we can say here, apply these fields to, and we decide together. We say, okay, let me see categories and objects. And we go down to the category called restoration. You can also look for something specific here in the search bar, right? As you prefer. Then the restoration here, we can select it. And here we have the air scrubber. And boom, you see that it has appeared already. So it will be attached to this specific object. Now, in the demo, some minutes ago, we saw it for the dehumidifier, right? So this is the same for another object. We save here the name, where it is attached, or let's say at what level it's attached to, in this case, to a specific object. Let's add a field, I would say. So we can say reading. This is to know when are we on site and when are we recording the temperature, the humidity, and so on. So we can say here, in this case, date and time. Okay, we add another field. So you see that the structure is the same as the custom form, right? So you have the form and the field. Okay, let's say temperature in Fahrenheit. Let me look for the little bubble for the Fahrenheit, and we can say number. Okay, we could say this is mandatory, my friend, don't forget to fill it in. Then we add a new field, and we can say here our age in percentage as we had before, and we can also say, okay, we're happy with a number. It's fine because it's a percentage, right? And we can add another field exactly as we had it for the other dehumidifier, and we can say hours running. Okay, and in this case we can say, okay, it's a text. I'm happy with that. If you want, you can also add another field saying, for example, photo. Say, please add some photos. Okay, and it's like that with photos. So you can see, you can decide what you would like to use to be filled in. Okay, now we save the changes. Give it a sec. And same thing that we did before. When we are ready and we want to use this form attached to the air scrubber, we would publish it. And I mean, we can also publish it and use it whenever we want, but it's up to you as you prefer. Okay, and you can click on publish. Give it a sec. Voila, success, perfect, close. So you saw that you have here the forms. Let's say that also in the forms you can add teeny tiny details too, because you have the instructions, you have add logic, the blocks, right? In the fields, you're boom, super quick. You add all the info that you want to have, 3, 4, 5 important points, and that's it. You're good to go. Right, so here, this is just to show you the one that we use for the dehumidifier. If I tap on edit, you will see that it was pretty similar to the one that we just created. Okay, so you see here, all the information, and I didn't mark anything as mandatory. That's the only difference. Okay, perfect. I tried to be a bit quicker today than the last time. Do you guys have any questions? If you're watching this video and you're watching the replay, so I'm not live anymore, you can always contact us also here at the email that you see running, helpdesk@magicplan.app, and we can also answer to you there directly. Otherwise, if you do not have questions, I can wait some seconds to see if you guys do have any doubts or anything to ask. But other than that, you saw that it's pretty simple and it's quick to understand how it works. Maybe an important note that I didn't mention yet is that when you have more workspaces, so if you work in different groups, for example, you will see the forms and fields in that specific workspace where you created it or them, depending if it's one or more, right? So I can show you my screen one more time. So here you see that I have a lot of workspaces, right? So if I'm in this total clean restoration while I'm in the app, I will be able to fill in the form, the fields, everything that I created inside this workspace. Otherwise, if I switch into a different workspace, I will not see this custom form and or field. Okay, so just so you know, it's important to see the workspace where you're in and the level where you decide to attach the form or field, so that you will find everything in the app. You can, of course, also create more forms and fields in other workspaces. It's absolutely fine. You can create as many forms, as many fields as you want in your workspaces. Okay, guys, thank you so much for your time. I hope that this live session has been useful for you to see a bit better how you can fill in and create your forms and fields. I said forms and fields 1,000 times today. So I hope the algorithm will like it somehow. If you guys enjoyed the video, leave us a thumb up. And as I always say at the end of our webinars, I wish you a beautiful morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on the time zone where you are.